Hi, it's Bumble. Welcome back to my channel. So, I was excited to watch this. I'll be honest, the main reason I remember this movie is for the song Why Should I Worry? And it's funny, this is my second time seeing this movie. And originally, like, I didn't know who any of the voice actors were when I watched it, and I thought it was fun and whatever. And then in between, it's been like 5 or 6 years since I was originally watching a whole bunch of like Disney movies and stuff. And in between when I first saw this movie and now, I've not only kind of discovered more of Billy Joel's music. I mean, I already knew a little bit because like I had this like best of Billy Joel CD that I used to listen to in the car with my mom a lot when I was younger. But I like really got into his music between watchings of this movie. And then I remembered that he voices one of the characters in this and gets to sing. So I was like hyped. And he does good stuff. He voices the character Dodger, and he also has a song. Well, it's really just the one song, Why Should I Worry? There's like two other songs in the movie, but they're by other people. But that was kind of the main reason I was looking forward to watching this. I thought he was going to sing more. I didn't remember. So I was bummed it was like one song, but it's a really good song. You'll hear me talk about it in my notes. I didn't really remember what this movie was about. I knew it was like this kid. I know it's like an adaptation of Oliver Twist. I know with this one it's that Oliver's a cat and the other characters are dogs, and I remembered they're in like 1980s New York, which I think is pretty cool. Like this movie does feel kind of 80s and stuff. I didn't remember anything else, and it turns out the reason I didn't remember anything else, I don't know how long this movie is, but it felt really, really short in that I feel like there wasn't really much of a plot with this. It's like things would happen, it would go to the next thing, and then one of the characters gets kidnapped at the end, and I thought like, oh, okay, the plot's like really gonna start here, and then I paused and I realized, oh, I'm like already almost done with the movie. Where it's basic like it spends like a good amount of time on like Oliver before he ends up like joining the dog gang, and then he joins them and stuff, and then from there it goes at like a much quicker pace where he's with them for like a day. He ends up in this like little girl's house, and then the group goes to rescue him from the house, and then they have to rescue the girl from the villain, and that's it. That's the whole movie. I mean, the characters are fun and stuff. I like all the animal characters and stuff. The humans are cool too, but they're really like plot wise there isn't really much going on. I like that it feels very much in its environment. You just see like a lot of like, I guess, New York life, especially like the beginning of the movie. Even though I remembered in my head like, yeah, this is a movie that takes place in New York in the 90s, I still felt surprised when the movie started and it's showing all these views of New York, and it like almost immediately shows a view of the Twin Towers, and I was like, whoa, because I was born post 9/11, so it's always kind of weird for like, I knew they existed obviously, and in my brain I knew this movie is from the 1980s, so you know, of course they're still there, why wouldn't they be? But it always feels weird to me like seeing them in movies that were made like pre 9/11, you know what I mean? But I really like the whole view of the city and everything in this movie. You mostly get to see it at the beginning and stuff, because then after a while it mostly takes place in like various characters' houses and stuff. But I really like this kind of like, there's this like really far away look kind of down on New York. It's this kind of sketchy drawn look in the intro. I really liked that. Or when Oliver, you know, when he's in the cardboard box and just people are passing by and he's running around, and you know, he's a small kitten, so you just see like the people's legs and stuff and just all these people running around. I thought it was really cool. It makes you like really feel like you're in the environment and stuff. There's like 4 songs in this. They're pretty good. I think only like 2 of them I'm probably gonna remember at the end of the day. I didn't realize like how many singers and stuff they actually got for this movie. Like there's this dog character named Georgette, who's a poodle. she lives with Jenny, and she like tries to get rid of Oliver at first and stuff, and then she ends up making friends with the dogs toward the end of the movie. I didn't realize the entire time I was watching that she was voiced by Bette Midler, even when she was singing too. I mean, I've only heard very little of like Bette Midler in terms of singing. I know that she can sing. I mostly just think of like her movies and stuff. I feel like usually I recognize her voice, but I don't know why here I just didn't. And then Cheryl Lee Ralph voices a character named Rita, who also gets a song. I liked her song. I don't remember what it was called. I think it's called Streets of Gold. I actually wasn't sure who voiced Rita at first. At first I thought it was Tina Turner because it sounded like a little bit like her. But no, it was Cheryl Lee Ralph. And then I'll talk about the Billy Joel song when I get there in my notes. But that one's really good. And then there's an opening song. I think it's by Huey Lewis, as in like Huey Lewis and the News. I'm assuming it's called Once Upon a Time in New York City because that was kind of the main lyric that was in there. I gotta look up the soundtrack to this movie, honestly. But I feel like that song and the Billy Joel song that's in this movie are probably the two out of the four I'm gonna remember the most. But they're really good. Those two especially. Not like any of it's bad. Like they're all sung well and stuff. But yeah, nice to have some good music in here. I like that with all these Disney movies I'm watching. So far, it feels like there's been at least one song that's like sung by someone in the cast or whatever in these movies that I seem happy with or memorable. So that's pretty nice. That's pretty good. Let me see. But yeah, I feel bad for Oliver. Like he's like this little kitten that's just in a box and he's with all these other kittens. He doesn't get adopted. I thought one of the kittens that was in the box kind of looked like Figaro from Pinocchio. I don't know if that was supposed to be intentional or not. And then baby Oliver, as I call him, where he's at the beginning. I mean, he's a kitten throughout the whole thing. For some reason, I wrote in my notes baby Oliver because I thought he ended up getting older like a little bit as the movie went on, but no, he's just a kitten the entire time, where he like gets into trouble immediately. He's in the rain, and at that point you don't know any of the animals can like talk or anything because he's making like little mewing noises, you know, not really like meows, kind of more like little mew noises. As the animals only really talk when they're around each other, so I'm just thinking like, oh, this little kitten that's like abandoned in the city and stuff. I think Dodger's introduction is cool, where you don't even really see him at first and he just kind of shows up and helps Oliver. I feel like having Billy Joel voice a character that's like a streetwise New Yorker dog is pretty cool, honestly. Where at first you think he's gonna be like kind of a jerk because he like uses Oliver to get food and then doesn't share it, but then you see that he's like bringing it to his dog friends and stuff, and he's like actually a nice guy, and they end up becoming pals and stuff. I like that he takes on this sort of like older brother friend kind of role to Oliver. I'm glad that that's sort of more the main relationship in the movie than Oliver with like any of the other dogs and stuff. Actually, it felt stronger to me than like Oliver when he's with Jenny, and him and Jenny even get like a whole montage together too, so I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, then you get the song Why Should I Worry, and that song is so good. I have it like even outside of my Disney playlist. It's funny because like I have a Billy Joel playlist. It's pretty long. Actually, I want to find out how long it is. Give me a second, just out of curiosity, because I do this thing. I'm going on like a slight tangent here. I do this thing on Spotify where sometimes I'll like go through an artist's entire like, what is it, discography, where you like go through all their albums and stuff. Let me see if I can find it. So I have entire playlists that are just for like specific artists. Let me actually pause and see if I can find it. I know I have one for Elton John as well. Oh, okay. It's only 55 songs long. It's about almost 4 hours. Yeah, I do have the song Why Should I Worry on here, along with like a bunch of other songs from the album. I gotta listen to My Lives more. Anyway, yeah, it's a good song. I like that I mean, I'm not saying like every song in a Disney movie feels like it's from a Disney movie or something, but I like that it does kind of feel like, yeah, it's like just another Billy Joel song and stuff. Not like it's similar to like every song he's done, but yeah, it's like catchy as hell. It kind of, I thought it was originally from like the River of Dreams album. I feel like it reminds me a little bit of the song River of Dreams. I don't know, I guess because they're both really kind of upbeat sounding and stuff. But yeah, it's an absolute banger. I gotta add it to my Disney playlist at some point. But I feel like I appreciate it more as a song now that I'm like a lot more familiar with Billy Joel's music compared to the first time that I watched. Anyway, let's talk about some dogs. I like the group of dogs. I don't really know what to call them exactly. There's like this little feisty Chihuahua. There's this like English bulldog that's like a bit dramatic. I think my favorite was the Great Dane. He doesn't really get a lot of lines though. He seems like a little, I was gonna say dopey. I don't know if that's the right word. And then there's this one dog named Rita that I mentioned. I don't know what breed she is actually. She's the only kind I didn't recognize. But they all have like very distinct personalities. You get to see quite a bit of them throughout the movie. I like especially when it's just scenes of them and they get to like interact with each other. It ends up being pretty funny. And they belong to this guy named Fagin. And he's pretty cool in that he doesn't really have much. Like him and the dogs are all really poor. They live in this like kind of little shack somewhere by these like docks or whatever, but he tries his best to like provide for him. I like that when he shows up and Oliver gets to meet him for the first time, the dogs immediately go over to greet him and they're like so happy to see him. They really do care about him a lot, and I think it's really sweet. Like they're all like, you know, like talking dogs. I mean, they're not talking dogs to the humans or anything, but you know what I mean. They like do their own stuff, but they still absolutely love their owner and everything. I love this one part when later in the movie he reads them a book to go to sleep. That was cute. And he happily adopts Oliver into his little family too. He doesn't think anything of like, oh, okay, this is another mouth to feed or anything. Or the fact that this is a small cat and he's around all these dogs, or Oliver being a small kitten might require more care or whatever. He's just like, yeah, you can join too, and it's pretty nice. That's one of the nice relationships in this movie of just these dogs and their owner. And then the villain is this guy named Skykes. Wait, I wrote Sykes in my notes. That doesn't sound right. I think it's Skykes. Let me see. No, it is Sykes. Okay. I wrote it with the Y in here, but it's spelled Sikes. Yeah, his name is Sykes. He's a loan shark. He kind of looked like, oh gosh, I never got to finish the game, but I always see him in memes and stuff. Senator Armstrong from, what is it called? Metal Gear Revengeance, I think. Let me see. I want to make sure I get this right, because I did play some of the game, but I never got to finish it. Is that the right one? It's like the only game. Yeah, Metal Gear Rising Revengeance. That's it. It's the only like Metal Gear game I've ever played. I'm assuming he's the final boss because he always shows up in these memes. I guess that's a spoiler for me in those. I really got to get back to finishing it. It's such a good game. But I thought he looked like a little bit like that character, not completely, but that was just the first thing I thought of when Sykes was on screen, which kind of made me take him a little less seriously. But yeah, he's this loan shark. He has these two dogs. I think the breed is Dobermans, and I like that his dogs are kind of like, I mean, Sykes is the villain for like the group of animals too, but like his dogs are also kind of villains for the other dogs. I like when movies do that, where it's like you have the humans and then you have the animals or whatever, and they have like their own kind of version of the villain. I don't know if that makes sense. Let me see what else. And then they have this thing where Oliver ends up getting adopted like right after he's joined the other dogs, which I was a little bit bummed about. Like Oliver is kind of whatever to me as a character. I find everyone else in the movie more interesting, but maybe that's supposed to be the point. I don't know. I kind of wanted to see more of him with the group of dogs that he's joined, but he gets adopted like literally the day of like his first like actual day getting to like be part of their group and stuff. And then what did I say her name was? Georgita, I think. Let me see. Oh no, Georgette. Georgette. That feels like a tongue twister. Too many G's in there. But yeah, she's this blue poodle. She has a song. I thought her song was okay. She's kind of a brat. She's a bit of a diva. Very like self-centered and whatever. Where at first her self-centeredness was kind of funny, but then she's kind of mean to the other dogs, and I was just kind of like, oh man, that's not cool. Her smile kind of creeps me out too. Anytime she smiles, especially during her own song, it's like this like wide ray of like teeth. I didn't like it. There's this part with her that was really funny to me where she's like talking and trying to get the attention of the butler. I mean, I don't think the dogs usually try to talk in front of humans. I always question with Disney movies because sometimes I can't tell or not because they don't show it if like the talking animals or whatever, if they actually can be heard and understood by the humans. Or I like when it's sometimes like they can talk to each other and they're trying to talk to humans, but then the humans are just hearing like animal noises or whatever. I just assumed that was the case here. But she's talking, she's trying to get the housekeeper's attention, and she actually verbally says bark, bark, bark instead of barking, and that was really funny to me. The housekeeper isn't too much of a character. He's like the only adult we see looking after Jenny because her parents don't show up in this movie. I thought he was kind of funny. I don't remember what his name is, where he has this sort of like kind of butler persona, I guess, when he has to like do his duties of answering the door or being on the phone or something. But then there's this one part where you see him just watching wrestling and he gets like really, really into it, just a complete shift in personality. That made me laugh. And you get to see it again at the end of the movie too. I really liked the scene because the scene where this isn't the scene that I liked, but it is, you know, also a good segment where the dogs are trying to like quote unquote rescue Oliver, and that they think they need to get him back, but he's happy being there. That part has some stuff that's kind of funny. I feel like it kind of goes on for a while, but I like the scene where they do get Oliver back and they're like really happy. All the dogs are happy to see him, and Oliver's like, why did you guys rescue me? I was happy over there with Jenny. And Dodger ends up getting offended, and Oliver wants to go back, and all the other dogs kind of just let him go and stuff. That I feel like that was a good scene, and I completely forgot because I didn't really there isn't really too much of a plot with this movie, and I kind of forgot most of it anyway. That Sykes ends up taking Jenny and the dogs, and Oliver and Fagin have to go rescue her. I like when all of them, they're on Fagin's like little bike cart thing. I don't really know what it was, and Sykes is in his like super big car. It's like a limo or something, and he's chasing them in his car, but they're in like the subway and stuff, which, you know, shouldn't bring a car there. That was a really cool chase scene, actually. His car ends up being in 3D quite a bit. I think a lot of the vehicles, or not a lot of the vehicles, because there's like taxis and things in this movie. No. Just the vehicles belonging to the main characters looked like they were in 3D, but I was cool with that. But yeah, that was a fun chase. That was one of my favorite parts of the movie. And then he ends up, Sykes, I think, crashing off a bridge or something, and that kind of solves everyone's problems and stuff. I mean, Fagin still doesn't really have money, but he's friends with like Jenny and the housekeeper now, and they show up to all of them show up to her birthday. That was kind of nice at the end. So they have it where like Oliver lives with Jenny and gets to stay there, but he like remains friends with the dogs, and it's not like anyone really has to say goodbye to each other, or I'm assuming so. It seemed like everyone was kind of on good terms, and then they get to sing the song Why Should I Worry at the end, which I wish it was just Billy Joel's character at the end, but it's like they have Dodger and like a bunch of the other dogs singing it. But yeah, it's a short movie. It's let me actually see. Oh, okay, no wonder it's so short. A bunch of the other movies I'd been watching and talking about were like at least an hour and 20 minutes or something. Yeah, this one's an hour and 14, which I know that doesn't sound like much. That's like that sounds like a 5-minute difference, but I feel like it really kind of makes a lot, especially because this movie, I feel like it has a slower tone a bit. Like, when I say it doesn't really have much of a plot, I'm not referring to the level of like how the Jungle Book is kind of not really about anything, and it's more of like a journey and meeting all these characters and stuff. I just mean it's like in a different way. It's like a bit more faster paced. There's like a little bit more going on, but I don't really know how to describe it, but it feels funny with this one and the Jungle Book and Robin Hood. I'm watching a bunch of movies that are kind of a bit slower and don't really have a lot going on with their plots, but with all three of these, like, they have some fun songs. I've been liking the voice acting and the characters and stuff. I'm having a good time with all of these, and you know what, especially for a rewatch, that's the thing I consider important, of like, did I enjoy it? Was there things that I liked? And so far there has been, so that's good. But anyway, oh, okay, sweet. So the next one I'm going to talk about is Beauty and the Beast. So that'll be cool. That one definitely has a plot. It's kind of funny, actually, with talking about these Disney movies and stuff, where I started with The Lion King, which is just so good and has like a bunch of stuff going on. It has like a very clear plot and everything. And I took a step back in time and I went through some movies that were kind of way more chill, and now I'm sort of back to 90s Disney. Not saying that 90s Disney has like the best stuff or anything. A lot of my favorite movies are from like the 2000s as well, but that's sort of funny the way this is turning out. And I don't know if there'll be more Disney movies to talk about. We'll see. I'm considering rewatching Alice in Wonderland. I feel like I had that on the brain since I watched The Jungle Book. But Alice in Wonderland, I've had that on DVD since I was like 10. I could watch that whenever. But alright, see you guys next time. Bye bye.